Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. And wherever you are listening or watching this, whether it be iTunes or Stitcher or any other channel, make sure that you hit subscribe. Again, whether it be video or audio like YouTube or Spotify, hit subscribe so you never miss any Mile High Tick. And we certainly anticipate seeing you on higher ground in September at Mile High 11, which is hard to believe it's the 11th Mile High. Jake makes me unbelievable. So we're coming to you from 5,280 feet, and so is our guest today, Dr. Michelle MacCarthy, who I'm a huge fan of, Colorado chiropractor, graduated from Life West in 2008, and has been located in the Denver area, practicing since about that time. And we are grateful to have her on our Mile High podcast today. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Michelle MacCarthy.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're grateful to have you. We're a big fan of yours and all that you're doing in chiropractic and in your practice. And let's help other people get to know you a little bit better, like we've gotten to know you. Tell us a little bit about your journey into the chiropractic world to start.
Well, that's an interesting one. So
I know.
So I was always interested in the human body, and I was like, oh, like I want to do like sports medicine stuff, and I want to do like athletic training. And then I realized that that's not really what I wanted to do, and things didn't fall the way they fell in undergrad, and so I got a business degree. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go into corporate America, and that's just the way that and I was thinking that was a great path. And so I was working at Starbucks thinking that I was gonna like work up the corporate ladder and become into all that. And I actually stumbled upon two network chiropractors because I was looking for a new chiropractor. I'd been into chiropractor since I was about 15 or 16. And I was like, I need to find a new chiropractor because I just moved from Washington to California. And I was like, let's go find a new chiropractor. And so we stumbled upon them at a what do they call it? Farmers market. And they were having some of
doing a screening in a farmer's market.
They were doing a screening in a farmer's market in San Rafael on the Miracle Mile, and went in for their special that they had. And I was like, whoa, this isn't the chiropractic that I'm used to. This is weird. Like, I don't know if I like it. But I started noticing changes, and I started noticing all these like amazing things change, in which the doctor at the time was like, why don't you go to chiropractic school and do this? And I was like, can I do that? So I basically went back to school, got all my prereqs in an accelerated program where it was like 7 months on the weekends, like 8 hours a day, and got all my science prereqs to go to Life West. And here I am.
There you go. And so human body interest and thinking you're going to do some kind of physical medicine, sports or something in that range. And then
I was like, I'm gonna become an athletic trainer because I played competitive volleyball, I played D1 volleyball. And I was like, oh, this is what I really want to do. I even took like a special sports med class in high school that I had to go to a different high school for. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. But then I learned like athletic trainers don't really make a lot and they work a ton. Like the athletic trainer, he's like, yeah, I basically paid like, this is, back in like 200 like 20 like 2000 like right. So right. A while ago he's like, yeah, I basically make like $2.30 an hour. And I
go, right. And then brought you to business. And so how has it been now looking back, having a business degree and having some study in that area, running a business as a chiropractor?
That's a good question, because you'd think it would apply. And honestly, like there's certain things that do, right? There's certain things like so I majored in marketing, human resource, and general management, which, like some of the things still like cross over, like location, with marketing. However, there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't apply today because it's changed so much. social media and technology and all of these different things, and just in the workplace in general, like there's just things that just don't apply anymore.
And so, it's navigating being a business owner in a very unique niche, meaning chiropractic. So
yeah.
Share a little bit about your journey of going school, associate, business owner.
Yeah. So I first thought that I was going to be an associate in an office when I first graduated. And my mentor at the time was like, well, my practice isn't big enough to support that, but why don't you come out to Denver and open your own practice? And I'm thinking, sure, why not? Realizing I had no idea what I was doing, like not one clue. And I was like, okay, here we go. And that office lasted about 2 years. And then I actually became an associate in another office. And I was an associate for about 6.5 years. And then I finally, in 2020, literally like 4 days before the pandemic happened, literally signed on the dotted line, I bought a practice. And I've been in that practice currently. And, it's been very different in how I've navigated through, like learning like what to do, learning what not to do, learning what I want to do. These are all very, very key things that they don't teach you in school. And I wish they did, because I would have had so much more success right out the gate.
Well, and now here's the thing. There's different schools of thought of graduating and just opening an office, or graduating and going through the process of, working for someone as an associate, or buying a practice. You've done each of those things.
All of them.
What's your thought, having experienced all of those?
I feel that if somebody knows exactly what they want to do and how they want to do it, and they've had really good either mentorship or experience beforehand, then I'd be like, yeah, 100% open a practice on your own. But knowing that, like, the cost involved and all of that, especially with coming out of school today, with just the cost of it expensive, and the kind of office that I wanted to have, I have x-ray, I have subluxation station, I have EHR system with computers at every table, and those are a lot. That's a lot of expense, and especially coming right out of school, like that's another at least $100,000 that is somebody going to give that to you. And opening it the way that I wanted to, like right out the bat. And that's why I was so hesitant with opening another practice after being an associate, because I was like, I don't have the energy to do this. And I don't want to recreate everything from zero. And so when the opportunity arose to purchase a practice that was exactly like how I wanted it, I was like, yes, that's a no-brainer for me.
So a little bit of it, it's not one size fits all, like this is the path to go, but it has to do with you and where you are and what you want. Is that what you're saying?
Especially if you don't know how you want to practice, or you don't know how you want your office to run, I'd say go work in an office. Like, get that experience. There's so many things that I found so valuable about being an associate that I couldn't have done having my own practice, that I learned and I grew in that way, that to be the doctor I really am today. And it's just so valuable.
That's excellent. And that's really good advice for people. Now, you have attended Mile High a number of times. How many years have you been at Mile High? I don't personally know.
So we're going on what, 11 years? 13,
next year will be 11.
11. I think I've been to 9.
Wow. Were you at the first one? I don't remember.
I was. And I think I have all the pens, and I think I have all the shirts from them as well. So
Well, good to know that people are holding on to them.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to collect these because if we get a new one every year, I'm going to see.
What do you love and appreciate about going to Mile High each year?
There's so much. I love seeing all my friends, seeing all my colleagues that I haven't seen, and getting to catch up with them, or even people that I went to school with. Last year I got to see Nona and Nagar, who Nagar and her husband are here in Colorado, but I haven't seen them since I graduated.
Wow.
So I was able to catch up. Like, we were in the same class. Nona was a couple quarters ahead of me. And so we got to catch up, and we got to like, hey, like, wow, how far we've all come, and the things that we're all doing. That, and, getting to hear some of the speakers that you wouldn't normally get to hear. I think my favorite of all time, I want to say it was Cornelius.
Oh, wow. Zeus.
Yes, Zeus. The very first time that he spoke, I remember we were at the Marriott, and it was right before lunch, and he had everybody just going, and he literally does a mic drop and everybody just explodes. I quote that talk all the time, because I'm like, he's like, the point of it's getting bougie.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that one sticks to my head. Just, some of them are just so amazing.
I love that you said about seeing friends. I did not expect that.
Oh.
But that's what people say all the time. Mm-hmm. I thought we have to have great speakers and incredible content, and we do. That's a big thing. However, across the board, where I asked people what they love about it, they said seeing friends, community, spending time with other chiropractors. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that would be the most valuable thing that people or thing that they appreciate the most. You know?
I love it, because then I'm going to see so-and-so, and then I usually ask, you're going to be a Mile High? And they're like, oh, maybe. And I'm like, no, definitely come, because there's so many opportunities to connect, or,
right.
And when you guys put together like the party, that's so much fun. I mean, last year I couldn't really party, but it was it was still fun.
But the after party, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, so now ask a little bit more about you and about your experiences practicing. What about the experience of discovering network? You said a little bit weird, so you know what we're talking about. So what was your experience of going from a conventional chiropractic experience to how did network impact your life and world?
Oh, wow. So to sum it up in the quick version, I say network not only changed my life, it saved my life. Because I was at a place where I had so much pain in my body. And we know that, chiropractic is not about pain. But if we can get to someone through their pain and help educate them and transform them, it's life-changing. And I came in because of pain. Like, everything hurt. Like, I was working 2 retail jobs. My feet hurt. Like, my low back hurt. I was always like cracking and popping my neck. Like, I was hunched over. My mom would yell at me to stand up straight. And when I laid on my back at night, it would hurt to breathe. And I was like I literally have shooting pains around my side. And I'd be like, if this is how it is when I'm 22, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when I'm double this age.
Wow.
Which I am now. And but I was thinking, like, okay, my only options are drugs, surgery, injections, because that's what I knew, right? And I had been to traditional chiropractors, and not anything like bad about that, and I felt really good when I'd leave, but it wasn't sustainable. And when I walked into their office, and I'm like, okay, I've been in offices before where they had multiple, like, an open adjusting room, and they saw multiple people at a time and did all that, but the technique, and I'm like, okay, I'm lying down and I'm just laying here and making these little contacts. I think it was after either my first or second adjustment, and they made a contact, and literally I felt the whole breath open up and keep on going and keep on going. And I was like, I don't think I've ever taken a breath like that before.
Wow.
Because I was so, and having all that tension in my spinal cord. And I started noticing all these different shifts, not only physical, but I started noticing like mental, emotionally. Like my mentor, he said, you were an intense person, like intense, kind of like scary. And I'm like, I'm still an intense person, but I feel like it's more an approachable intense. and so he's like, and I just was so super skeptical and so super just like not trusting of people. And that all changed. And like, I was radically just wanting to explore like different things, and like just feeling just completely different in my body. It changed so much for me.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's so amazing how much the nerve system is a window to transformation for so many people. And I love what you said about it relative to pain and that's so important that people actually, the way you said, like that, it's not about pain, and yet what you were doing wasn't getting a sustainable shift, and you were having changes that were positive, and then there was a whole nother level of growth or impact or sustainability. And there's something you said, I say this all the time when I'm teaching, that people don't really come in for the pain or whatever the thing that they want less of, though they may say that, but really that there's two things: that either they have some experience with their body that they know they're not going to navigate their future the way they want to. It's because something that the way their body is, they're not going to have the experience of navigating what lies ahead of them with the way their body is now. Or they have, something that the way like you said, I'm feeling this way, man, how am I going to be like when I'm 44, right? When I'm twice this age. Or they have a compelling thing that they want to enjoy, like their kids or grandkids, and something's not letting them have the level of joy around that they want. And having people access that is amazing. So now, what about navigating being a mom and a chiropractor running an office?
Well,
this is a question a lot of people ask when they're thinking about chiropractic school or in chiropractic school, women across the board. And there's more women in chiropractic school now than men.
Yeah, it was one of the things that when we were talking about it and we were starting to plan for it, that I was like, not really sure how it's going to happen, but I'm usually one of the people like, okay, now this is in front of me and now I got to figure out a way to figure it out. And that's essentially kind of what happened, is that, and I think I attended the LWP when I was probably like, I don't know, like probably like 6 weeks pregnant, because I was like, I'm a solo practitioner. I have no front desk. It's just me running the show, which I don't know how I'm going to take off maternity leave when there's nobody in my office to support that. So I was like, okay, I know I need help around this. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm attending LWP. And then I'm like, I know I need help with orchestrating coverage doc, or even hiring staff, or figuring out an associate, like all these different things, and getting it in place so it was set up. And I know that we talked about that. I'm like, okay, we have X amount of time, and here we go. It has to fit in this amount of time. Like, we don't have like, oh, well, we didn't make our goal. Like, we can push it out a little longer. So, there's a baby that's happening at this point, and we need to figure it out so it's set up. Because, I tell them, like, it's hard because like my practice is my first baby. Like, I love the people. I love going there. I love all of it. And no one really tells you how it's going to be when you have a child. And I love this little being more than all of it. And honestly, it's a tug of war where I'm like, I really love this and I want to see this thing grow. And I also want to see this thing grow.
Right.
And it definitely it pulls at your heartstrings when you're like, I gotta leave the house right now. and I got to do things, but I've been so super grateful for the team that has shown up, and I've been able to have support me in this whole process because they are rock stars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's when Rochelle and I found out that we were pregnant. Say we, which,
Right.
you say
You're included.
but we were pregnant and we did not have an office yet at that point.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what you said. Oh, we've got a timeline. I was living with my parents at that point in Rochelle because we just moved here and trying to find out where we're going to practice and looking at office. We're like, oh, we've got 9 months and we have to get a location and find a place to live. And we got to make it profitable enough that we can hire someone. And it was like a mission. So the timeline actually can work very well when it's a must. And kind of instead of
I'm really good at timelines, and so it's like, okay, I've got like this amount of time, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, dude, it's like February, like it's coming up, like, oh, now it's March, and oh, now it's April, and I'm just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm like, okay, how's this gonna work?
Right, and it's that helps you have it's gonna happen. It has to happen. So
yeah, and I mean, I was at the point where I was like, well, if I just have to just stop for however long and close the doors, so be it. But I'm like, that's not what I want. However, we're gonna make this happen.
Right. And you mentioned LWP, so many people may not know what that is, Lifetime Wellness Practice, which is our Rochelle's and mine way of mentoring people, which you're now going to be becoming a part of. What has your experience been with Lifetime Wellness Practice overall?
Oh, so many great things. I think I went to your first ever one that was held in your office.
You did.
And I think I begged you to take down that video that was so old of me. I was like, please, Danny. But I mean, I've just been so grateful for all of the stuff that you guys give. I mean, yeah, like we pay for the program, but you make it so affordable. You give so much valuable information. And I take away all the things like at that one, I came back and I did have a girl that was working with me. She didn't last very long, but I think she gave me her notice like 2 weeks after that because I came back and it was all the holiday stuff and and you look at it, and I think on our call last night that I forget who it was that said something about just taking it one step at a time, and I was like, okay, I'm taking a step back, and that's where I looked at it. I'm like, okay, you do I don't know, I'd say on the low side 8 things at Christmas, and we come away with all these things. I'm like, yeah, let's do all those. And I brought it to her and she's like, you want to do all these? I go, no, dear. We're going to pick 2. We're going to start implementing them. And then this year, I think we did it 4 or 5, or maybe even 6. We did a whole bunch. So we're just building and growing. And then each year we're like, okay, we've already done that. Now we can just pull it out, implement it, and do it. And it's so great because it's literally I don't want to say plug and play, but if you don't have a structure or you don't have something that's reproducible, it makes it so you can reproduce it. It makes it so anybody can literally step in and go, okay, this is how we do this. This is how we do this. This is the way we do X, Y, or Z. And there's no guessing about it. It's just all right, let's take this and move forward.
I'm glad you said it that way because it's a principle. Some people remember this from being on TV. Some being on TV. Some have not ever seen, but I'm sure you can find it on YouTube of someone holding up a pole and spinning a plate on top of the pole, right? And they would get 10 person have one plate spinning, then they get a second one, then a third one, and then they're amazingly getting 10 plates spinning. That's what practice is like. At first, you just got to learn how to get one spinning, and so whether it be having you just in an office, or it's a CA, or it's now marketing. And once you get the plate spinning, then it's more sustainable. But that's neat. And going to programs, I just said this to someone yesterday because they wanted to know about bringing a team member to a Lifetime Wellness event. And I'll tell you, I say always bring your team to lifetime wellness events, to Mile High, bring your team to Mile High, because you want them to grow. But I also said it's going to make or break them. Because he was like in her first month of employment, said, should I bring them that early?
I know. I always kind of go,
yeah. And it's going to make or break them. Either it's going to ignite them, and launch them into like, give them purpose if you brought them to Mile High, or it's going to be that it'll get them out the door. And the thing is, that's actually a good thing because
completely.
Completely
agree. Yes. So the last LWP that we went to was the first one that I brought my team to, was the first one I had a team to bring to.
Right.
And I wasn't really surprised, but they loved it. And they were like, oh, Dr. Michelle, can we do this? Can we do this? Like, oh, should we be doing this? I go, yeah. I'm like, I'd love to do that. I just have been needing to implement that. And that's why I needed you guys here, so we can hear this and you guys can start taking the ball. And they have, and they're like, oh, what about this? What about that? Like, oh, I feel like that's such a good idea. We should do that. And I'm like, yep.
Right. And that's why I tell people, like, they say, oh, but it's $300 or $150. I don't even know what it is to bring a person to Mile High, for example, and plus travel. If that equates to one person starting care because they're more energized at the front desk, or they can share something about chiropractic they couldn't do before, it pays off so much. And chiropractors, tend to unfortunately be cheap or be afraid of doing that, but it always pays off. Even if they leave because they said this isn't for me, it's going to pay off because you're a better team member rather than hold on someone that wasn't a good team member.
It saves you so much time and energy in the long run.
Right. Well,
and finances.
Yeah, truly.
And honestly, Danny, it's not that expensive compared to some seminars.
Oh, right.
I mean, like let's be real. Like, you make it very reasonable to bring your team.
Well, thank you for saying that. And Rochelle and I do that intentionally because we know how valuable it is for people to bring team, and because we want to speed up people's learning curve. So, one other area that you touched on that I think it's really important to ask on this podcast, which is you mentioned about you bought a practice literally days before the pandemic. Rochelle and I, we had the paperwork and we're going to sign on buying $1 million building the day the world shut down in Colorado. And we're that day, oh, maybe we shouldn't give in this real estate because we know how long it would be. You had already signed the paperwork days before. So tell us about that experience.
Well, so one of my friends was like, hey, you should talk to so-and-so because he's thinking about selling his practice. And I was like, oh, really? Because I had left and I was kind of like in this limbo place. And I was like, I really want certain things in the office. And, having a digital x-ray machine isn't cheap. Outfitting it isn't cheap. Having computers and EHR system and, subluxation station, all these things, they cost. And I was like, oh God, I might have to go to the bank, figure out all this stuff. And so we got into conversation, literally December of 2019. And then we had a conversation, went and looked at things so we were kind of doing that first of the year. I was like, all right, let's get serious. Let's get serious about numbers. Let's get serious about all that stuff. So we were going back and forth, pulling all the information. We had everything basically at the end of February, beginning of March, all of it ironed out, lawyers had looked at paperwork, all these things. And I'm not one who really watches the news regularly. So I was like, whatever, bird flu. Swine flu, it'll it'll blow over, whatever, not a big deal. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, how many others on this, watching this right now are like, yeah, I was just gonna be another thing. So I'm full steam ahead, okay, ready, let's go. Literally, we're sitting in the Chase bank, ready to get things notarized. And things are shutting down, employees are calling off, they're still closing early. And I'm and my parents are do you think this is the smartest thing? Can you go back on it? And I go, the ink has dried. Like we are now in. Like I cannot go back. I can only go forward. Let's go. And so I was like, all right, and figuring it out, and here in Colorado, it was kind of a crazy show. And so, we were like figuring like, what kind of cleaning stuff do we need? What kind of, like all of this stuff. And like, can we be open? Can we not be open? Can we see this? And it was just like all over the place. And so I was like, well, I'm going to keep practicing until they tell me I can't, and just keep on going. And, it was kind of scary because we had other people, we had people turning in people and all that kind of stuff. And it was a very tumultuous time. And, I remember like it actually was a really great transition because we had worked out like how this transition would be. And I honestly just started seeing everybody. And, because there's things that just happened that way. And it made it very effortless with the transition. And people were like literally chomping at the bit to come back to care. And they were like, when are you guys going to open? When are you going to open? When can I come in? When can I get my spine checked? And we're like, okay, let's go. And it was all uphill from there, or all downhill from there. It was just like, go, 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 go.
Right. Well, we all have stories of how we navigated it because it's different in different states, different cities,
the
areas.
Yeah, the mayor kept on changing the date of when we could open. And he kept on saying like, okay, it'll be this date. And then they would extend it. And they would extend it. And we like finally like, and it was this way for a while. It was like May 1st, it was like going to open. The whole state opened at that point. And we had all the emails sent out saying, hey, we're going to be ready to go. We have people on the schedule. And then Sunday night comes out and it's like, we're not opening till the 8th. And I'm like, no. we can't like, we have already put forth like the legwork for people are like, we're going to have to call like dozens of people to tell them that they need to reschedule. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, we're going like like Polis said the state's open, we're open.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know all about it. Well, I'm so glad you took the time to be on the podcast, not only because you're one of our newest Lifetime Wellness Practice mentors, but this journey is, your journey is something that speaks to so many people in either students or chiropractors around the world that are navigating some of these same things, from associate to buying a practice to running one to navigating COVID to new mom and all of that.
I've done it all.
Which will really help people in terms of, their own journey. So, and I really appreciate how you show up in chiropractic and in the world, and just as a soul, which is really wonderful to watch. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the Mile High podcast and for collecting all the pins and shirts that's from Mile High. So we better up our game with the pins and shirts in Mile High 11 when you're there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and we haven't announced a theme yet, but we'll be doing that soon. So thank you again. Thank you for taking time for being on the Mile High podcast. Everyone, we look forward to seeing you on higher ground at Mile High 11. RiseUpToMileHigh.com is where you can get the details, and keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic.